How you doing, everybody? Welcome back to Before I Forget. This is my video channel inspired by my Instagram channel, 1985 Road Dog. Today I'm going to jump on and talk about the band Rosary Violet. If you follow my Instagram, I posted some pictures of those guys and did a brief caption about the band Rosary Violet. I had quite a few people ask me about them, and they thought the music was good, and they're on, streaming on Spotify. Anyway, I managed this band, Rosary Violet, 1991 in there, 92, those years. And if you've heard them on Spotify, or you've heard me talk about them, or I didn't actually write about them in my book. But they were really like, I call them a goth Alice in Chains, Rosary Violet. But they were very close, man, to getting the golden record deal, right around 91, 92 in there. They were really close to getting signed. I was managing this band, Rosary Violet. They're from Long Island, New York, but they played a lot. They played a lot in Manhattan. The nucleus of the band was... what made the band special was you had a core group of musicians that had played together in various incarnations for a while. And then you had this maniac, charismatic lead singer, Johnny Hawaiian, was the front man. So, Johnny was out of his mind, not in a good way for me, but he made a name for himself. He was a good looking guy. And he was floating with all the right crowd in Manhattan and all that. The other musicians, namely John Doom, bass player, Peter Gott, rest in peace. Peter Gott was a guitarist, and I think he played keyboards. And then the drummer was Sean. I can't think of his last name right now, but those three guys, the drummer, John Doom, and Peter Gott, drummer Sean, they played together. And as a unit, they had another band with another name. They made it onto some MTV contest thing. They did okay. Didn't really work out. Somewhere along the line, they hook up with Johnny Hawaiian. The three musicians then added a fourth guitarist, Pepe. One name, Pepe. Pepe was like a Joey Ramone character. He was like, 6'6", skinny, tall, blue hair. Just really, he added something to the band, another kind of different element. Anyway, I came upon the band because how that happened was I was DJing all over New York. I was working at Limelight and a club called Raw, a club called Hot Rocks. So this guy, Johnny Hawaiian, I'm DJing at Hot Rocks on Long Island, and he just comes up to me and bothering me and, just being annoying. He was really annoying. He had like a crazy hat on. He was just, a loud, annoying guy. He told me, and eventually he tells me he has a band, blah, 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 blah. So at the time, I was married to my wife, Marianne, rest in peace. She knew him from somewhere in Long Island, a club or somewhere. And she was the one that said to me, you have to, you got to go see this guy's band and check out his band. And she knew about the band as a whole. And she also knew Johnny Hawaiian. So I'm like, I don't want to deal with this. So I was no way, shape, or form looking to manage a band in 1991 in there. I was working at Limelight and these other clubs, and that was consuming all my time. But anyway, I go see the band, and they had a song called Lily, that I was like, okay, these guys got something. Then once I met the band, and I found out that the core musical trio, John Doom, Peter Gott, and Sean, the drummer, they were solid. They were serious. They were older. They had jobs. They were serious people. They could manage their lives. So that enabled, and Pepe was pretty much in control as well. He drank a lot, but he was in control. Well, that enabled Johnny Hawaiian to be Johnny Hawaiian. No, he doesn't have the greatest voice. He didn't have the greatest voice, but he had a lot of style, and he was a good-looking guy. So after meeting the band, and I met the other guys, and I go, oh, okay, these guys are 3 guys over here, like normal, and Pepe's kind of normal, and if the band was 5 Johnny Hawaiians, it would never work. So I agreed to manage the band. So they start, they're doing some gigs here and there, small stuff. Really good, man. Writing. A lot of stuff. They were very prolific. John Doom and Peter Gott would sing all the backgrounds, all the harmony vocals. They did these layered vocals, very Queen-like, but also very Alice in Chains-like in the vocal approach. And Johnny was this guy that was like not a great singer, but he did this kind of like rap thing in a way. He sang too. But when he wasn't able to cut a song, the song was not immediately rejected because John Doom and Peter Gott would sing and fill it out. So we're doing gigs all over the place. The guys start playing a lot. We're booked at this little club in Freeport, Long Island called the Right Track Inn, which was notorious for bands that would play there and a lot of original music. So they played at the Right Track Inn a lot. I got them a gig at Hot Rocks, which was not a live venue. Hot Rocks was a rock and roll dance club. They had a small little stage. And I got them a gig there, and they played there and went over really well. There was another club out in Deer Park called Voodoo, which was owned by the guys from Caffeine, who did all the raves out in Long Island back in those days. They had a little record label, Caffeine, and they were doing all this techno. And anyway, they had a club called Voodoo. It was like in a warehouse, and it was very like alternative goth punk rock. So we started playing at Voodoo once a month, and after a few months, it was, jammed wall to wall, lines out the door. And, a lot of it was the music. A lot of it was the respect of the core musicians. And a lot of it was Johnny Hawaiian socializing and being out on the scene. And, the guy didn't work or do anything. He was Johnny Hawaiian 24/7. So he was out at all the clubs and networking and which was great. But he was, pretty crazy, Johnny. Do crazy stuff. One point, I don't know, he had nowhere to stay for a week. I don't know. He slept on my couch for a while. He was special, man, though. Johnny Hawaiian was a rock star. There was no other way to put it. He could have been, on the cover of Rolling Stone. He was that good looking. He had that much charisma. He had a really unique look. First guy I ever saw with a tongue bar in his tongue. Unfortunately, he shows up to a gig with the tongue bar, brand new. His tongue's all swollen. He can't sing. So that was Johnny Hawaiian. But the guy had it there for a while. He drove me nuts, but he had it. I start getting him gigs at the Limelight. They did a gig with the Normal National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. Normal had a thing with High Times Magazine. I put together the whole thing at Limelight with the Bad Brains and Sebastian Bach's Rock Buds, and I got Rosary Violet on that bill. It started really building. So Johnny Hawaiian his mother had passed, I believe, and he, somewhere in his lineage, had a trust fund coming to him. He was going to get a chunk of money at one point, which everyone in the band, Doom and Peter Gott and Sean, they were like, this is not going to be good when he gets this money. Because in a way, I always felt that Johnny was a talented frontman for a rock band, but I always felt he just wanted to be a celebrity. He didn't matter. If he was a big model, he would be happy. So I think he didn't have at that time, he didn't have a core musical drive. Yes, that was the only way he could get noticed. He needed to be noticed. So he was in the band. So he's about to get this trust fund money. Plus, he's partying, drinking. The band has a song called Hash. Who's got the hash? Smoking a lot. His voice was like this a lot, Johnny Hawaiian. But, he was just a partier. Started doing a lot of photo sessions with my late friend Steve Azara. Took a lot of pictures of the band. We did stuff on my rooftop. Johnny was tied to the chimney. Did a lot of photo sessions. It was so insane with him. Every morning I'd wake up, and this is kind of like, I don't know, maybe cell phones were just happening. There really weren't cell phones around. I'd wake up and I'd listen to my answer machine the next morning, and there'd be all these messages from, band roadies and whoever, Johnny did this, Johnny did that, Johnny got arrested. You never knew what the hell. Johnny was on stage at the Palladium in Manhattan with a bottle of champagne and pulled his pants down and was, this is the kind of stuff that was going on. But this is what got the band noticed. And if they didn't have the music and the other band members to back up Johnny's antics, it would have never worked. But the band was a great band. The musicians. Johnny calls me one night. He's like, hey, I'm in a limousine with some models, and this is not unusual. I'm like, okay, yeah. He's like, I'm with this record company guy's with us. He works at Elektra. I go, okay, who? What's his name? What's your name? Oh, yeah, Bob Krasnow, who's the president of Elektra Records. I'm like, you're in the limousine with Bob Krasnow and a bunch of girls. He goes, yeah. I go, Johnny, well, that's great, but don't puke on him or anything, you know what I mean? Like, keep it together. But that was Johnny Hawaiian. He would float between all these different worlds. And once they started playing it in Manhattan at Limelight a lot, Johnny really got in with that whole goth crowd. There was a night there on Tuesdays called Communion, which was like a goth alternative night. And all those early goth people, Johnny was in with that whole crowd as well. So he floated between so many different kinds of people. He knew this fashion photographer. He got to know a fashion photographer that does did all the big models. And we did a photo session with him. He loved Johnny. And he made the band to look like they were all in suits with their hair slicked back. It was a really cool photo session. Johnny put that together. Connected me with the guy, and we put it together. But Johnny floated through all these different crowds. We recorded that EP that's out, the Rosary Violet EP that's on Spotify. Went into a little studio in Long Island with John Aosa, who had done some stuff with Joan Jett and a bunch of people. He kind of engineered it, and him and I co-produced it. And we pressed a 7-inch single. We started, radio stations locally started playing it. I started sending CDs to record company people that I knew, because I was playing at all these clubs. I was really plugged into the system and all the record labels. And record label people started showing up to gigs, and things were really rolling, man. It was like everybody was talking about this band, Rosary Violet. Being in New York and Manhattan, he had easy access to the executives. They just, after work, they'd come down to a gig or whatever. And it was really happening. And, myself, my partner, spent a lot of money on recording, T-shirts, posters, whatever. Spent a lot of money on this band, and things are starting to happen. Then Johnny gets his trust fund money. He gets, I don't know, the amount has been debated, but he got a big chunk of money, into a checking account, or say however he had it set up, and he went nuts. He just was going crazy, spending money, flying all over the place. And, this is when everything has been building now for about a year and a half. Labels are really interested in signing the band. Everyone's talking about this band. It's on all the local radio stations. Had been playing a lot of the stuff on all the college stations, the specialty shows. People are coming down to their gigs from labels. He gets this money. He goes nuts. And lost focus. And we had a gig booked in Manhattan. I had a lot of labels coming down. This could have been the gig where it was like, okay, we want to sign you, somebody, because this has been going on for months. This was the big gig. And that afternoon or that early that evening, Johnny calls me and he goes, hey, I'm in wherever he was. I'm in LA. I'm like, well, Johnny, there's a gig tonight. All the labels are coming down. This is it. This is what we've been working for. I'm like, and I have to go back in now. I hang up with him. And again, there was no cell phone. So he called me at home probably. Then I had to get into the gig, tell the band what was going on. We can't play without him. I had to call label people and let them know so they didn't come down for nothing. I had to call them and have them, we're going to do another one and we'll set up another one. And it just all fell apart. And that was it. It became too much. It definitely became too much for me because I treated Johnny like a kid, like a son. Like I was like, helping the guy as a human being beside being in a band. He was a handful. And I was trying to help him. And once he got that money, that was it. And they lost momentum. We couldn't get the labels by that time. Who knows what else was happening? I don't know. But there's a time frame and a window. If you miss your window, that's it. I'm not saying you won't get another window, but the chances are slim. So we lost the window and it just slipped away. They were a really talented band. I just listened to those songs again on Spotify. I hadn't heard them in years. They were a really good band, man. They were right there. Like I say, they were like a goth Alice in Chains with like a rap vibe in there. It was like a mishmash of stuff, but it was perfect for 1991, 1992 in there of what was going on musically with bands like, I don't know, Infectious Grooves and the Chili Peppers and Alice in Chains and all the other bands, of that era. Rosary Violet fit right in there, but they were completely their own thing. And that's really what happened with that. So they were great, though. Check it out on Spotify if you are interested. I appreciate you listening, tuning in. My book's on sale on Amazon globally. Tales from the Gutter and Other Rock and Roll Shenanigans. I also sell signed copies on off of my Instagram. So go to my Instagram, 1985 Road Dog, and check out Rosary Violet. And I hope you enjoyed this little story about them. They were a great New York band, lost but not forgotten. All right, everyone, be well, be safe. Speak to you soon. Ciao.